Well, good morning again, everybody. Today, we welcome back Darien's first selectman, Monica McNally, who will speak to us on the state of the town. Monica was elected to her position in November 2021. She has previously served on the town's Board of Selectmen and also as an elected member of the RTM, where she chaired the RTM Public Works Committee. The first selectman graduated from the University of Wisconsin and spent 9 years in the financial services sector as a financial consultant for Smith Barney. Monica has been a volunteer in numerous local civic organizations, including Opus for Person to Person, served as president of the YWCA Women's Club and the Tokenique Association Women's Club, and worked on the Greens Farms Academy fundraising committee. Please join me in welcoming Monica.
Morning, everyone. Really nice to be here. Last time I was in this room, it was to honor a really special volunteer, Chris Filmer. Is he here today? There you are, looking at you. So, I'm pretty sure Chris isn't the only volunteer in this room. I feel like I've seen a lot of you on other boards and commissions. So if you have helped out in town in any way, maybe with your children's school, or you are on a board or a commission, or you're with a volunteer group, maybe you're in charge of the P2P raising food, would you raise your hand? Yeah. Thank you. You know what? That's what makes this town special, is all the people like you that dedicate your time and your energy. Really, that's what makes this town unique and makes it run so well. So with that, as we know, the men's senior organization stays very involved with what's going on in town. You're very informed. And I thank you for this opportunity to provide an update and a look to the future from my perspective. This morning, I'd like to talk to you, like to speak with you about a few initiatives that I think are important to Darien, the new developments that are underway, and the impacts of them on our community. The first initiative I'll cover concerns flooding. Before I took office a year ago, or a little over a year ago now, there were two flooding events that significantly impacted our town. Storm Elsa in July of 2021 and Storm Ida just a month later together dropped 24% of our annual average rainfall within 24 hours. Homes and businesses, some that had never experienced flooding before, were severely impacted. Our first response was assistance. We rescued people, we cleaned up debris, and we helped victims apply for financial aid. Once the emergency had passed, we launched a series of efforts to understand why the flooding was so severe and what we could do about it going forward. As an example, we initiated or updated extensive studies in areas that were particularly hard hurt, including Bailey Avenue and Saltbox Lane. These studies were recently completed and are in the process of being reviewed right now. Once they are completed, we will share them on our town website. We are also doing a study of the Grove Street, Tilly Pond area that has not been completed as of yet, but again, we will share that on the town website once it is. In addition to these studies, we have also made substantial physical improvements. Over the last 7 months, we have upgraded drainage on Lee Warden Road, Brookside Road, as well as Laurel Lane. We also upgraded catch basins on West Avenue and Fairfield Avenue. We enhanced sidewalks, curbing, and drainage on Nearwater Lane, and we repaired pipes on West Avenue. For the upcoming fiscal year, we are seeking funding for drainage improvements on Long Neck Point Road, Hanson Road, and West Avenue. Other examples of flooding infrastructure work include the Gorham's Pond Dam, which was damaged last year during Hurricane Ida and required an immediate temporary fix. The design for the permanent repair is currently underway, and it's about 1/3 complete. We are now pursuing regulatory permits for this project, and we hope to secure FEMA construction funds to cover some of the anticipated costs. The estimate there is between $1.5 and $2.5 million. In addition, the town hired a consultant to inspect the drainage to Rings End Road Bridge and Old Kings Highway South Bridge after Hurricane Ida, and to provide recommendations and cost estimates for those projects. The design specs for the improvements are nearly ready, and we are looking to fund these repairs from ARPA funds. The Hanson Road Bridge also suffered storm damage with some settlement of the West Bridge abutment. The Department of Public Works put a temporary fix on that, and a design to replace the bridge is about 25% complete, with an estimate cost of approximately $1.5 million. The Planning and Zoning Commission plans to recommend an outside engineering firm review the current stormwater management regulations to evaluate them and provide suggestions on how better to address stormwater management going forward. So in summary, flood prevention and mitigation is a costly and complex problem. For more perspective, I would encourage you to view, when you have a chance, the October 3rd flooding presentation that was given to the Board of Selectmen. This is available on the TV 79 website. It has timestamps on it, and the town officials and the professionals who presented that day, I think, did a really, really terrific job. So it's worth your time of taking a look there. Another initiative I'd like to discuss with you today is the acquisition of Great Island, an opportunity that presented itself when the owners, the Steinkraus family, decided to sell. This may well be our only opportunity to obtain this. The Town Plan of Conservation and Development set the foundation for the purchase, and the approval of the town boards, including the RTM, confirmed that this purchase is in the best interest of the town. The property, viewed by leaders in town, see it as a potential resource for residents. It is an important 61-acre parcel for all of Darien, but for all of Long Island Sound. If we can, we should save it from substantial development and hold it forever under town ownership. But this transaction is far from complete, as our buyer due diligence efforts have uncovered items that are holding up the progress. We are hard at work addressing them, and we hope to, with the contiguous landowners and neighbors, and we hope to have a positive outcome from that. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the ways that Darien is growing and growing and growing. As you all are aware, the town has a lot of energy right now. Construction is nearing completion at the Darien Commons, the Federal Realty Project. In Norotan Heights. Phase 1 with 58 units is complete, and phase 2 with 64 units is expected to be finished this June. The mixed-use 3-story development with 15 to 20, but might even be closer to 25 commercial tenants will add an increase of approximately $100 million to our grand list. An increase of this amount rarely happens in a town our size. Construction began downtown this past summer on the Corbin development. The east side of Corbin Drive will be completed in the next 3 months, with all commercial spaces and tenants on the Post Road relocated to that side. That should be happening in mid-April, that movement. The former post office is expected to be demolished actually either today or tomorrow. And the Bank of America building is expected to be demolished in early April. The project will bring a new vitality to the downtown area and is anticipated to be complete by the end of 2024. Planning continues on the Palmer property adjacent to Federal, with the demolition there expected to be done on March 1st. These multifamily developments with other approved but not yet built units will add over 374 new residences to our town, residential units. Many new restaurants and small businesses will accompany these projects, bringing numerous local jobs and an expanded tax base. One impact of the new developments is the need for additional resources to address the increase in state-mandated inspections of restaurants, retail, office, and apartment spaces. Last year's budget included funds for adding an additional deputy fire marshal, and we anticipate requests for additional staffing as more units come online over the next couple of years. The town continuously monitors community needs and modifies manpower and work schedules as appropriate. Sometimes schedules are influenced by costs, such as the paving schedule for last year. By postponing the August 2022 paving, the town expects to see a cost savings right around the 20% mark. The 2023 paving will take place as it regularly is scheduled. So the paving that would have taken place last August is expected to be done this spring. And the regular paving schedule, which we do in August, September, will continue as it has. So this summer we'll have 2 paving schedules. We're working with the spring schedule around school also. Department heads are continuously monitoring their budgets, ever mindful of the impacts on taxpayers. Darien is currently in the middle of the fiscal 23-24 budget process. My board is scheduled to vote on the Board of Selectmen budget this evening, and the Board of Education is expected to vote on their budget on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Then both budgets will be presented to the Board of Finance on March 7th. The Board of Finance will hold a public hearing the following Tuesday, March 14th, before it votes on the budget on Tuesday, April 18th. Yes, on May 8th, the RTM will hold the final vote on the fiscal 2023 budget. So budget information is located on the town website. On the front page, you can see it. It's one of the top items, and you can go down as far as you want inside of it to see what's going on. I hardly recommend that you follow this process. It's very important to be informed on this. You can also find the general fund, other funds, and the proposed 6-year capital project calendar in that area. The police department continues to respond to a growing number of calls and requests for assistance, including mental health, and anticipates the volume will remain elevated as additional housing units and commercial developments come online. Post 53 also experienced a significant growth in call volume last year and expects that trend to continue. They continue to lead in innovative services and recently made Darien the 3rd community in the state to participate in the Leave Behind Narcan program, which offers a life-saving antidote in case of overdose. Earlier this year, we chartered a committee to identify opportunities in information technology. The committee is focused on cost efficiencies, better purchasing coordination, and improvements to the interface, the interaction between our citizens and town government. The Board of Selectmen has already voted to implement the committee's IT policy updates, and we expect more recommendations from them soon. We should have them some more recommendations. We next meet February 27th, and I believe that we will be hearing specifics at that time. I'd like to thank Tom Bell for serving almost 12 years as our harbor master, and John Keena, who was appointed to the post by the governor in April, for joining that. Since then, he has been reviewing relevant town ordinances. He plans to recommend updates that will assure compliance and fair usage of mooring permits and assignments. He will be making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen at a meeting coming up. I anticipate probably in March. Although the COVID crisis has diminished, we continue to strive to limit infections in town. Over the last 2 years, we distributed masks and over 4,700 test kits at the Darien High School drive-through and at testing sites. The health department held 53 clinics and oversaw the administration of almost 9,000 doses of vaccines. We also studied our response to the pandemic, which resulted, for example, in more ways to transact businesses online with the town. We are continuing to look at the lessons learned from COVID to help us be even more prepared for emergencies going forward. And I want to just go back there a second and talk about the vaccine clinics and give a special thank you to all of the residents that volunteered to help out at that really important time. Darien has a 61% voter turnout for November in the November midterm elections we just had. 7 new members were elected to the RTM. And after 14 years of dedicated service, Terry Wood stepped down as one of Darien's state representatives. Terry's is now represented, Tracy Mara took Terry's spot. And we are also represented by Representative Tom O'Day on the representative side. Those are two changes. We welcomed 240 babies last year, a 14% increase over our 5-year average. Right? You guys, that's pretty great. You know, a lot of communities are shrinking on that side. And so the fact that we're a place that people want to come and start their families is really, really terrific. So I welcome every one of those babies. Our schools are predicting a population increase of 300 students over the next 10 years. The Board of Education continually monitors what schools need now and may require in the years ahead. Currently, to address concerns for the mental health of our students and school safety, the board has created new positions, a director of mental health and a director of school security, and added an additional 6 school officers for the elementary schools, safety officers. The Board of Education strategic plan includes improving school facilities for safety and access to learning. With that in mind, I'm pleased to report that Oxbridge Elementary School, which was a $62 million project, will be fully open this fall. The $82 million, the Hinley, Holmes, and Royal construction projects, the 3 of them total around $82 million, are in the early phases and are expected to be completed in the fall of 2025. Those projects included taking out the portables that have been there for a really long time and redoing other certain parts of the interiors of the schools. These are costly projects, but worth the expenditure. Darien schools continue to be a positive driver in maintaining property value and attracting new homeowners to Darien. The 2022 U.S. Census and World Report ranked Darien as the #1 high school in Connecticut. So that's something that we can all be proud of. As always, town departments pivot to meet the needs of our community as circumstances require. Our seniors are participating in an ever-growing number of programs at the Mather Center that support, engage, and teach new skills to our wiser and more experienced residents. This year, the Human Services Department took a leadership role on the newly created Mental Health Task Force. With close to 50 members, including mental health experts and key community leaders, the group works to focus on researching needs, advocating ways to address those needs, and educating our residents. The Park and Recreation Commission spearheaded 4 new working groups: Weed Beach, Invasives, Pear Tree Beach, and Playgrounds, to conduct in-depth reviews and make recommendations to the full commission. The Playground Group will oversee the replacement of 3 playgrounds, while the Weed Beach is focused on the creation of the Weed Beach Meadow Trail, about $1 million project. This year, the Board of Selectmen adopted a community value statement, which reflects Darien's commitment to respect and inclusion for all. My fellow selectmen and I attend a multitude of annual events supporting a variety of causes. And this year, we were pleased to participate in new events, including the Rally for Ukraine, the unveiling ceremonies for Darien's new Heritage Trail markers, and the first Darien Pride event. Just recently, through work done by the Advisory Commission on Sustainability, the town received recognition for its efforts on sustainability by achieving silver level certification. So these are only some of the many ways that our town employees and our volunteers from various boards and commissions have been working on behind the scenes to improve the quality of life we all enjoy. So in closing, growth and change are inevitable. We must welcome growth for the benefit of our town, and we must plan for the changes that are driven by that growth. As the changes require additional police, fire personnel, or teachers, we will address those as they come forward. The need for open space is ever more present and will only increase, which is another reason acquiring Great Island for the town has been a priority of mine. As I mentioned, a great many changes are on the forefront, but the spirit of selfless giving by our residents and organizations is one of the things I hope will never change. Over the years, despite the pressures and time constraints of everyday life, all of you have taken the time to dedicate yourselves to our community, and we continue to benefit from that. Your time, your energy, your experience. You're all part of what makes Darien a truly unique and wonderful town, and why I continue to be proud to represent you. So thank you for your unwavering support of our town, and congratulations on entering the 46th year of your organization. That's really impressive. And I just want to say, there are so many new people in town, and this organization, you have this collective experience, and the longevity is to be commended. So please reach out to these new people in town. Ask them to join. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will entertain questions from the floor and also online. Please, use the icon to raise your hand online. Vinny.
Yeah, I wrote this out. Monica, I know you're familiar with my letter to the Darien Times regarding our coastal waters, how it's Darien's second greatest resource after education, that it attracts premium pricing for our real estate. It was with regard to Scott Cove and the old non-functioning private septic systems in Tokenique and Delafield Island that I was referring to in that piece. Curiously, the week after my letter to the Darien Times, there was an article about Darien waters declared by the very organization that I helped sample for, that the waters are clean. But there's no explanation why the west end of Scott Cove, surrounding Great Island, has restrictions on clamming because too much biologic pollution, something we didn't sample for. A few weeks later, the Darien Times had the result of a study at Campo Beach at Westport, which shows heavy contamination from ineffective private septic systems. I believe the same would be found if a study were made on Scott Cove. I'm an RTM member. I changed from Parks and Recreation to Public Works just for this issue. And I plan to be going to the Sewer Commission and asking how we can tighten up the regulations on private septic systems so that they're inspected and recorded, the results are inspected and recorded to determine the need for putting in pumped sewer lines, particularly in Delafield Island and Tokenique, which is right on the edge. And from my paddle boarding, I can see some systems aren't working. I'm asking for your support when I go to these work on this particular issue.
Well, Vinny, thank you first of all, thank you for all of your years on the RTM, and thank you for moving over to Public Works, a committee that I have special affection for, and I look forward to learning more from you when you bring this issue forward. Thank you.
Questions?
I wonder if you could comment on my perception, maybe others, of a lack of enforcement of traffic regulations in town. I mean, the assumption is that we're going to get a lot more traffic on the main streets. And I see illegal left turns, I see U-turns almost every time I drive through town. Excuse me. Incidentally, I also live on Brookside Road, which has a speed limit of 30, which most people observe, but a lot of people don't. And I never see any enforcement there. So I wonder if you have any comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. We receive a fair number of complaints about speeding and about, the wrong turn and just traffic in general. And I always, my first suggestion is to reach out to our police commissioners. And I contact Brent Hayes often with these problems, and I find him very responsive for specific areas. So what we would do is we would take a look at, for instance, when you're saying Brookside, and an officer would go out there. And I will ask, if you give me your address, and your last name, I will look into it. But in general, I guess the growth in our community has led to a lot of people new to the area that might normally go a little bit faster somewhere else. So I would say the first thing that we can do is, first, if you drive the speed limit, the people behind you can't speed, right? So that solves a little bit of the problem. But in general, yeah, might be annoying for them, but you should be going the speed limit. Then you wouldn't be annoyed. But I was driving over here, and I did want to ask the group, because like I said, we are in budget deliberations, and this evening is our last. And one of the initiatives that we had last year was the Slow Down in Town campaign. So by a show of hands, not right this second, think about it for a second, but by a show of hands, I'd like to see if you would support the Board of Selectmen continuing to financially support this campaign, which I believe is about a $15,000 project. And you probably saw we had signs out, the Slow Down in Town signs. We also had a social media campaign, and we had banners placed. And I'm just curious, did you feel it was effective? Would you like to see us continue with it? And if you think there are some changes that we should make to the campaign, I'm really all ears for it. So first, show of hands, who's in support of that campaign? This is something that we did. I think we did it June through October, maybe. Do you remember, Vinny? Yeah, it was somewhere in there. So it's about a 6-month campaign. So show of hands, who's interested in us pursuing that again this year? Okay. So I'm just going to ask 2 people. If you didn't raise your hand, was there a specific reason that you aren't? Yeah, John.
Yeah, hold on.
I think the issue of, signaling is a bigger issue, and stopping at stop signs. I mean, people are just going through the stop signs and they're not signaling. And I see that as a bigger issue than speeding.
Okay, signaling is right. It's kind of a bygone art, right? You're supposed to just guess where people are going to go. So you know what? We have this is what I'm going to do immediately. We have a town newsletter. So I'm going to highlight this in my comments for the next newsletter, and I will follow up with it throughout the summer with just gentle reminders. And I will start with signaling and no more roll through the stop signs. Okay.
Bill Tammy.
Monica, thank you for coming today.
Mhm.
I wonder if you would be willing to expound a little further on the Great Island purchase, and specifically what the problems are that have been uncovered during the due diligence.
Okay. So we are in the midst of negotiations. So to pursue those in the most fruitful manner, I'm going to keep this brief, but I will say that our due diligence period is up March 6th. So that's right around the corner, and you will definitely be hearing more by then. And we are looking to close on the property on April 20th.
Yes, Monica, it's encouraging to hear about our #1 rating for the Darien High School. One of the things that is present in the media nationwide is an acknowledgement now that primarily due to COVID, there has been some lost learning opportunity, that basically kids moving into the next grade have not necessarily mastered what they were supposed to. At any of the school board meetings or meetings with the teachers, do you hear about the #1? Did we feel we experienced the same thing? And if we did, do you hear the teachers and any other members of the school board talk about plans to recoup? Everybody in the media says, gee, it's terrible. We lost all this, but I've never really heard anyone say, and this is what we're doing to recoup it so that ninth graders can do algebra when they move into 10th grade. Do you hear any discussion like that?
You know, we do. And I know that there has been a loss of learning, a spectrum of loss of learning. And I know that Darien is on the lower end of that, but the schools are always looking for ways to address that. And that and the mental health of our students from the pandemic are top priorities for them. So absolutely, it's being addressed.
Discussion of longer school days or extending year.
You know, I have not heard longer days or extension. Okay. I do know that like other communities, like other states, we are, we did have a lot of teachers leave the profession or leave the Darien school system. So we are looking at first addressing that need.
Monica, I have a question for you.
Where are you?
Right here, Tom.
Hi.
Sorry. It's a good question. I can't answer that myself. One of the challenges we have in our town, and it's not just Darien, it's a lot of towns in Connecticut, is retaining high quality people to provide critical services in our town, including teachers and others. And one of the challenges we have is retaining people at a point in time where it's very expensive to live in Darien. And so my question to you is, where do we stand as a town in terms of our approach to affordable housing, and how does that affect our ability to retain and recruit people for our schools and other valuable services that need to be provided in town?
You know what? Another good question. So we have seen our property values increase, right? We've seen our grand list increase. Fortunately, we've also seen almost 400 new units coming into town. So these are apartments that are 1 and 2 bedroom. Palmer's might have a few 3 bedroom, but these are apartments that I'm hoping that our working people will be able to come work here and actually live here. And that's really important. We do have, I know on the town side that trying to fill vacancies that we have, one of our big complaints is that we, is traffic. And one of the ways that the town side was able to address this was by going to a 4-day work week. So town hall employees work longer during the week, and that has its own challenges because a lot of them still work on Friday anyhow. But in general, that's helped us in recruiting because people don't have that 5th day to drive. So I would, I'm encouraged about the additional units that are coming online. And I'm also encouraged by, on the town side, doing what we can to encourage people to come and work here because we have top employees. You got to trust me on this one. And we want to retain them. Absolutely.
Yes, hi. Thank you for your service, first of all. When you talk about 400 new units coming online and record number of births in the town, and then say that the anticipation for 300 new students over the next 10 years, does that seem realistic, I guess is the question. Yeah,
it does work out. So a lot of people wonder about these new units and where are we as far as kids go. And I would say that federal is the first one that's really, that's 122 units there. And the first phase 1 has opened, and we've only had a couple, like I'm saying under 5 new children, and I think a couple of those were actually just relocated from town. So we haven't seen a lot there. And the Corbin project, that's Mr. Genovese has suggested that that's really a very popular destination for older people. So we're seeing growth. We're seeing new residents there. We're seeing a lot of people that are just relocating from within town. to those units. So the numbers do work, and it's not record breaking on children, but we've kind of gone up and down. But right now, I think that the 300 over the 10 years for school is pretty accurate. And I've gone back and forth and looked at those stats to see how consistent they've been as far as forecasting goes. They've been pretty spot on.
Question over here.
Next question. Hi, Monica. Fred Gonzi.
Hi, Fred.
How you doing? Quick thing about traffic. If my memory serves me, the selectmen are the traffic authority for the town. And I would strongly recommend that the selectmen consider doing an overall traffic study of the entire town. So that most people here don't know, but in planning and zoning business, what usually happens is the projects are brought into the commission for approval. Usually there's a traffic study that accompanies those applications, and that traffic studies generally are focused on the traffic issues in the immediate vicinity of the traffic, and which is a problem. And the quick way to sort of see the effect of not looking at the overall situation is look at Stamford. I grew up in Greenwich many years ago, and I will tell you that I've watched all these buildings going up in Stamford over the many, many years. And I will assure you that in each one of these things, there was a traffic study done that just measured the incremental traffic for that specific building. You put all the buildings together, and the traffic situation presents an entirely different view. So I would recommend that the selectmen seriously consider doing a 30,000-foot review of the traffic situation in this town, from Federal Realty all the way to David Genovese's property downtown, and look at the issues, because I guarantee you there's going to be issues that are going to come as a result of the pure volume of traffic on our roads.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. I would say that the police commission is actually the traffic authority for Darien. And I think the 30,000 view is something to consider. I will say that these projects are all very, very vetted as far as traffic goes. People ask why they take so long. I mean, the Corbin project is, I think it's like it's like a 17-year project. It's very, very long. And part of that is the approval process, which includes traffic studies. But I like your overall idea.
Just to follow up, I will venture. I was off P&Z when David went for his approval. Same thing with federal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be surprised if David's traffic study really evaluated traffic in the overall town, or what's going to happen as a result of federal's development, and conversely, what's going to happen in what federal put forth on their traffic study as it might relate to what's happening in the other side of town where David's doing his development. So I recommend that you do a study that looks at the entire town. Anyway.
Yeah, Fred, I would totally agree that the Corbin and federal will not be studying, that area is not within their scope. So I'll take your suggestion to heart.
You sound pretty optimistic about the Great Island purchase going through. Sorry. Okay. Said you sound pretty optimistic about the Great Island purchase going through. What are the current plans for the use of the property once it's acquired?
The current plans. That is a really good question. And you know what? Who's seen the presentation that I gave a number of times at town hall, and it's on the website? Okay. All right. Okay. So you know what? So you go to the town website, and you're going to just Town of Darien, and there's going to be news, and you hit the little yellow button that says more. And when you scroll down, I think it's June 2nd, maybe. Is it June 2nd? Yeah. I'm looking at Vinny because he's on the RTM, and he just knows this stuff. So, but there's going to be a presentation there. It's going to say Great Island presentation, and you can hit a little link, and you will see all of the possibilities that we have brought forth for this. But this is, you know what, this is a very, very big project that's going to need input from everybody in town. So we put up some ideas for different things that we want to do there, but this isn't going to be something that we get done in a year or two. I just don't see that. So I am optimistic on it. I am, as your first selectman, I'm leading a team of professionals and other people in town government working very, very hard on this. And my main job is to do right by residents. So that's where I'm focused. Okay, definitely. I'm not letting anybody cut in front of you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I hate to say it, I'm returning to Great Island myself also, because part of it is I'm sort of concerned that we talk about the purchase price as 102 million.
103.
103, rounding, because we're going to get into, we're going to bond it. So I thought I saw something that said 7 million a year for 30 years. And that was at old interest rates. And then we're going to lose tax revenue and we're going to have to maintain it. If we did nothing else, this is probably a $250 million cost to the town over 30 years. That's a huge amount of money when we really don't know what we're going to do with it. That was my first question. So you agree with me, it's at least $250 million, maybe more?
Well, so this year we have budgeted a little over 4 million for interest expense, right? But that doesn't include principal, which will kick in next year. So yes, you know what, no two ways about it. If you were spending $103 million, it's a lot of money, right? And you might say to yourself, am I doing the right thing? And I would say, yes, we are absolutely doing the right thing for the long term of this town. This will be bonded over 30 years. So residents that are here and enjoying it, yes, will be paying part of the cost for it. I would also suggest that a purchase like this, first of all, it's a once in a lifetime. If you haven't been there, and I understand I hadn't, well, actually, somebody broke down and I gave a ride because their car broke down anyhow years ago, but I didn't really get to stay there because I didn't live there. But anyhow, I digress. Most of us have never been there, right? The RTM did visit it, and we made sure that our commissions had a chance to visit it, but most people haven't, unless maybe you went by on the water and you saw it. So this is a little bit of a leap. That's why I would suggest that you take a look at that presentation. It's very well done. It's going to give you a really good overview of what the project actually is and what some of the ideas are for that. But yes, it is an expensive project.
And depending on what we do with it, most people will not go down there if there's nothing to draw them, which will then add obviously to the cost.
Right. We will definitely make this a place where people want to go. I would not be even looking at this if I didn't think that this will be a crown jewel for Darien. Can I say specifically today, what's your name? John? Tony. Sorry. Tony, I can't say to you today, we are going to do A, B, and C, because you know what? I'm your first selectman and I have ideas that I will be definitely sharing, but this is a project for the whole town. So we need the whole town to participate in it. So I can't put the cart before the horse, but I can tell you that, yes, I am optimistic on this purchase and working very hard on it as my whole team is.
A related question, because the property had been on for a while,
Mhm.
and it was in a single piece, and that was a lot of money. And they split it, and the second piece still hasn't, I assume, had any offers that were reasonable. How do we know we got the right price and that we're not overpaying for this property?
Well, the property was assessed at 108. Okay, so our contract is for 103. And the other parcel is on the market for 85 million. What are you laughing at?
I'm just saying, but it didn't sell. They were assessed for 185 million and they didn't sell at 175 for years.
Right.
How do we know at those prices that they wouldn't sold for a lot less? Were there other buyers?
Yes. Well, you know what? I'm not the seller, so I can only speak anecdotally, but we were in competition with other buyers. I'm confident of that, but I don't have any written, something that I can produce that says that. And the 175 was for the entire parcel.
That's what I said, but
So,
they split
right.
it up and the second
Right.
piece of it hasn't sold.
Right.
So
Well,
those-
the second piece went on the market after Great Island went on the market. And the second piece is, it's about 35 acres of actual. It includes 14 acres of dedicated conservation land, deeded land. So you can't do anything on those two parcels. And the other 35, it's zoned for single family. So that's a developer that probably will be looking at that, in my opinion.
Charles Sammons.
Thank you, Monica. I just want to speak in favor of this purchase. I guess I'm influenced by two things. Certainly I take your point that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, probably a once in ever opportunity. When we moved out from New York City, it came down to Greenwich versus Darien. And the thing that was the chief attraction of Greenwich was that huge park on the Sound. I felt that that would be one reason that one might choose to live in Greenwich. I'm very happy that we ended up in Darien, by the way, but that was a factor that I think people considering moving to Darien and things that will support our property values, that will be weighed going forward. The other thing is that we are a member of the Roten Point Club in Rowayton. And I've been told that property was originally offered to New Canaan and that they decided not to buy it. And I think that New Canaan regrets that decision today. So I do believe that this is something that we should do. I think that we can afford it as a town. And, I just wanted to put that word in on the other side of the question.
Well, first, thank you for choosing Darien over Greenwich. Okay. Excellent move on your part. And yes, Todd's Point, that's 147 acres of, a beautiful park, and Waveney is about 300 acres. This won't be as large. Obviously, it's, a little over 60 acres. But when we're done, it's going to be better. Mark my word.
Question over here.
Monica, thank you for your presentation. Was there ever any consideration of a public-private partnership to acquire the property? Given the constituency in town, I would guess that there would have been significant private interest in just trying to help with the acquisition.
You know what? I think that the private partnership idea is a really great idea. And this comes back to, what are we going to do with this property? And that's where I see it's going to be very, very valuable, because there are going to be different things. Like, let's say we want to do an art museum there. There are going to be people that are going to be really excited about that. And I hope that they will step forward. I have reached out to many people in our community to garner that support, kind of teeing it up for that part of the project. So yes, there are a lot of people in town that are really excited about it and that are willing to step forward. And we're looking forward to getting onto that phase of the project.
Right.
Let's get to a subject that people are really interested in.
Oh, let me guess. This is going to be pickleball.
It's going to be pickleball. Yeah.
Knew it. What do you have?
A number of us put money in to help convert the tennis courts to pickleball. And it worked out very well. It's a great facility. A couple of questions around this. I heard that you're going to start charging for reservations. And the second question is, when the hell are you going to expand so there's much more facility to meet the demand?
Okay, well, the expansion, I'm not leaving here to go do that right now. However, we do have temporary lines put up over at Cherry on additional courts, and we are looking at a reservation system and some sort of a fee for usage. And I believe it's being the $20 for the court, or $5 a person. I think that's being discussed, but this is, very, very new. So what I would suggest, I'm sure you've been in touch with Pam Gary before, but I would suggest you reach out to her because I asked her last night where we were on that, and she said that they will be reaching out to, they will be meeting with interested parties. So I would strongly encourage you to add your voice to that.
Other questions? Well, Monica, I want to thank you very much for sharing your perspective on the state of the town. This is a very engaged group, and there are a lot of people in this room that care a lot about the town of Darien, and we are blessed with the leadership that we have, and we have an engaged community. And I think, however you believe the Darien Men's Association can help the town on a go-forward basis, that you'll be in touch with Frank DeLeo and other people who are part of our organization so that we can continue to play an appropriate role in the continued future of the town of Darien. Thank you.
Thank you.